Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon on this it's beautiful. It's turning out to be real pretty. Turned out to be beautiful on this Tuesday, the last day of the month of September, September 30th, 2025. We have entered the fall season, and I'm grateful to God for that. I love this time of year. I love the crispness and the cool and the comfortability of the temperature. Um, None always love me because I do suffer from seasonal allergies, but I love this time of year. And I'm praying that you guys have had a blessed day so far. I have. Uh, Once again, God's done it again. He woke me up this morning, gave me a reasonable portion of health and strength. And I'm just grateful to God for who He is in my life. So I pray that you guys have had a great day, great day thus far. Welcome again to Tuesday Talk with T. On this segment of Tuesday Talk with T, we're going to talk about our topic today is everything doesn't need a response. Everything doesn't need a response. So I hope we can really get into it. Hey, baby, thank you so much for always joining me. Um, but yeah, everything doesn't need a response. That is my topic for today. And as always, I always like to try to give you an encouraging word. And our encouraging word is going to be coming from John chapter 14, verse 27. John chapter 14, verse 27 says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your heart be troubled, and do not be afraid." That is John chapter 14, verse 27. Once again, it reads, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your heart be troubled, and do not be afraid." Once again, as I always tell you guys, make sure you read the word, and especially the encouraging words that I give you each week. Read it at your leisure. Read the entire chapter of chapter 14 of the book of John, the Gospel of John, the Gospel of John. But chapter 27 is one of those that reminds us about peace, the peace of God. And that's just the one thing I love is having the peace of God. So let's just get into it. Let's get into it. Everything doesn't need a response. That's our topic for today. But listen, now, have you ever found yourself in situations and where you immediately react and it leads to a regrettable consequence? You know, sometimes we can get into something that, and then we get into this situation, then we regret what we may have said because we responded so quickly. Or did you lash out at someone in anger and made a hasty decision or said something that was hurtful? And we all may have been there at one point in time to where we have done things and we said it and we lashed out and it was too late to bring it back. Because I'm one of those people that believe that once it's out of your mouth, of course, you can't put it back in. You can't change people's perspective of what they heard from your own lips. So, or, sometimes we can lash out in anger and we make, like I said, make a hasty decision and say something that will hurt someone. We all had those moments like these. But what if we could, if we could just harness the power of not reacting? That's the key. Is that we harness the power of not reacting to everything that we hear or that we witness. So what if we could learn to pause and reflect and respond thoughtfully to any situation? That's what I want to talk about today, because that does become hard for a lot of people, a lot of us. That we don't learn how to pause and just reflect and listen. Actively listen to what's being said. That's easier said than done, right? Yeah, it is. But believe it or not, it is possible to step back and just assess certain situations before a response is given. That's possible. Just sit back and just let the person do what they're doing. Let the person say what they're saying. Let them complete the sentence. And you just sit back and you just listen. And the idea that not everything requires a response, emphasizing the importance of discernment in communication. In the Christian world, we talk about discernment of people when you're around certain people. The Bible said, try the spirit by the spirit. But and we call that's a discernment. But you can also have a discernment of communication. That means that I have to listen to what's being said, what's being put out there in the atmosphere by talking. So you can have a discernment in communication, and it does suggest that individuals should recognize that some situations or some statements do not necessitate a reply. You know, you can leave people talking and just talking, and you don't have to say not one word, but you can listen and discern what's really being said, because you might pick it up as something that may be hurtful, but if you let that person complete their sentence or finish it up, they could be just venting, and you just happen to be the person that's right there in front of them. Excuse me. And so a lot of times that happens. I've been in situations where I've listened to people just talking, and I'm thinking, okay, they're talking about me, or did I do something? And then I let them finish. No, I say, okay, you're venting. And then they'll say, okay, I'm sorry, I'm just venting, you just happen to be here. And okay, all right, I get it. And sometimes that happens. So, so we have to recognize that certain situations and certain statements do not necessitate a reply. You don't have to reply to everything, just listen. Because not everything has to do with you, or requires your attention, or needs to be in your world. Okay, so some things have nothing to do with you. It's just they're just talking. Okay, so don't put yourself in a place where you feel like that they're talking about you, or they're reacting to you, or they're saying this about you. It's not all about you. Some things that people are just simply venting. So try your best not to put yourself into everything. That's another thing. You don't have to put yourself into every situation, every circumstance that you're surrounded by. It's called, sometimes you can walk away. I've done that too. When I see that it had anything to do with me, I'm out. Talk with you later, because this has nothing to do with me. Okay, so Laura, you got good evening, sugar. Okay, Laura. Hey, girl. Yeah, so not everything has to do with you, or requires your attention, or requires your response. Okay, so you do not have to react to everything looking to provoke or involve a response. You don't have to. Okay, so in an effort to connect, defend, or to prove, we find ourselves overreacting or explaining things that really warrant silence or more thought. Once again, think about it before you open your mouth. Think about what because we do speak prematurely, and a lot of times if you've been in a situation that you spoke and they look at you sideways, say, well, what does that have to do with the conversation? Because see, you thought it was going one way and it was actually going another way, and sometimes then you begin to you sit there and you begin to look foolish because it didn't mean to go the way you thought it was going. So a lot of times we just have to make sure that we don't overreact and trying to explain things that really wants us to be quiet and give it more thought. So it causes us to be more anxious, yeah, and defensive of other people's thought and reactions, and once again, we react too quickly. So be careful. So our listening and our observing and analyzing skills escape us when we feel inclined to respond too soon. So it's almost like our listening skills just went out the door. We stop observing, because when we look, because there's a difference in looking and observing. Believe it or not, you're like, okay, how is that? Yeah, there is. There's a difference between looking at something and observing something. Looking at a situation and observing a situation. Looking at a person's reaction and observing their reaction. So yeah, there's a difference. You can look at something and you can perceive it to be one way, when if you observe it, it's actually different than what you perceive. Think about it. So be cautious of it. Be cautious, because in that we can react and do things too soon. If we don't have the right tools or recognize what's happening. I've done it. I've done it, and I'm sure you have too. But once again, we got to be cautious with that. And a lot of our lack of silence, in moments where answers are demanded, we can say the wrong thing and speak too soon. So once again, you just got to be cautious of how we begin to speak too soon and say things that we don't really mean over here. It's hard for us to take it back because it's already out there. You've already said it. So learn to sit back. Learn to sit back and observe. Let me tell you something. Observing has been helpful for me. You know, sometimes I have sit back and I just started looking at things and observe things, and I pick up on a lot of things when I just simply sit back and be quiet and let things play out. Okay, so it's important to remember that not everything needs a reaction. Not everything needs a reaction, and sometimes the best thing we can do is simply be present and mindful. Okay, so because once again, not every exit needs an announcement. You know how some people, they exit out, they're so loud. Not every drama needs your participation. Okay, so right now let's just take a look at some things. We're gonna look at some points. Hold for a second, my computer's acting up. Hold on, make this okay, but there we go. So we're gonna look at some points. We're gonna look at some points on how not to respond, how we need to step back and not to respond on some stuff. Hey, Sonya. Hey. So we'll start with the first one. Hey, Cynthia. Glad you guys are on today. I'm so glad you guys are on. Let's take a look at some things. The first one. Now we're talking about moments to look at some points on not responding. So the first one is the benefit of not reacting. The benefit of not reacting. Listen, when we react or respond impulsively, we often make decisions based on emotions rather than reason. How many of us have done that? That we make decisions based on our emotions rather than something that makes sense. We are emotional beings. Yes, we are. We are. And our emotions can change, and you have to understand that we don't keep the same emotions 24/7, 365. So we often make decisions on our emotions rather than reason, and emotion plays a significant part in our decision making, doesn't it? You know, if I'm upset at a moment, then when I'm trying to make an important decision, I'm gonna go with what I'm feeling at that moment. So you have to be careful with that, because this can lead to negative outcomes. In a personal and a professional, in our personal and professional lives. You have to be cautious of that, because it can produce negative outcomes. So on the other hand, not reacting allows us to take a step back and assess the situation, okay, before we respond. So this can result in better decision making, improving relationships, and reducing stress. So be cautious of that. This is the benefit of not reacting. We want to make sure that we make better decision makings when we don't react emotionally. Okay, so check and see what's going on with you before you make a decision. So how am I at the moment of decision? What's going on with me at that moment? I want to make sure I'm not upset with something. I want to make sure I'm not tearful about anything before I make a conscious decision about something that's important to me. Okay, so number two, better decision making. Okay, we're talking about points on not responding. Better decision making is number two. And when we react or respond impulsively, we often make snap judgments without considering all the facts. Yes, we do. Yeah. When we react or respond quickly, we do make those snap judgments, and we're not considering all the facts, or we hear part of the story without hearing the full story. Okay, so, and this can lead to poor decision making. Yeah, it can be and negative consequences, and we don't want that. How many of you have been there? Yeah. Once again, like I said, make sure, check what's going on with you emotionally before you snap, before you make something that's important to you for your life. And when we choose not to react, we give ourselves time to gather information. We weigh our options. We make thoughtful decisions, and this can lead to better outcomes and fewer regrets. In other words, keep your mouth closed and listen. Yeah, I said it. Yeah. Shh. Just keep your mouth closed and listen to what's going on, okay? Number three. Number three. Improve relationships. We're still talking about some points to keep it from not reacting. Number three is improved relationships. Improve relationships. When we react or respond impulsively, we often say or do things we later regret. Yeah. And this can damage our relationship with others and create tension and conflict. There's probably been many people that have lost good friends, not speaking to family members, working in the same place with co-workers, and you're upset with your co-worker and you have to work next to them every day. Yeah, so when we react and do things impulsively, it can damage relationships. Think about it, and then you begin to feel like that you're all by yourself and you're all alone, and nobody cares about you. You begin to feel sorry for yourself, and all of those things that there's really not necessary. Okay, so when we choose not to react, we can avoid saying or doing something hurtful and instead respond with empathy and understanding. And this can strengthen our relationship and build trust. Build trust. Build trust. That's because that's the one thing you want. You want to make sure that people that you are surrounded by can trust you. Okay? So we want to make sure that our relationships are improved, whether it's a family member or co-workers or people we just generally come in contact with. I'm one of those people that I'm a firm believer that people are watching you, especially when you portray yourself to be who you say you are, particularly those of us who are Christians, Christ followers. People watch you. People watch you. They watch your action and your reaction. Okay, so you want to make sure that you build that trust with people that you surround yourself with. So when someone says or does something that upsets us, our impulse may be to react right away, letting them know how we feel. But when emotions are running high, and that's the key you have to realize, when your emotions are running high, these reactions may not be as helpful or kind as we like them to be in the long run. So we got to check ourselves. We got to make sure. We got to make sure that our emotion is not way up there. While reacting may feel good in the moment, because we're one of those people, we want to go ahead and get it out. We want to get it out. Get it off. Let me get this off my chest. Okay? And, sometimes, it may make us feel good at that moment because we got it off our chest. But taking time to let emotions settle and respond from a more grounded place will lead to a better outcome in all of our relationships. So you gotta. It's one of those. Like I said, most of us have been on a high to where we got so angry at something and we wanted to say it. We won't, like I said, get it off our chest. If you just, I'm one of those people. When I'm upset about something and I know that I'm anxious, I'll spell my whole name. Just to calm myself down. I'll spell my first, middle, maiden, and my married name. All of that, just to calm myself down. And I tell you, it works. And I say, okay, let's start over. Let's do this. Okay, because I'm not gonna let you get me all upset. Okay, so try that. Try spelling your whole name. And say, or for those who like to count to 10. Okay, whichever works for you. Okay, number four. Reduce. We're talking about something that you can do by not responding. Number 4 is reduce stress. That's a good one. Reduce stress. Okay, and when we react and when we respond impulsively, we often experience a rush of negative emotions such as anger, frustration, anxiety. All of those things can play a part, and this can lead to an increased stress level and physical symptoms such as your headache. You know how people say, I don't want my blood pressure to go up? You know what? That can happen. Your blood pressure can go up because you develop a headache, muscle tension. Those could be signs of that your blood pressure is rising because you're so angry. Okay? Elevated heart rate. Yeah, your heart is just pumping. It's just like, yeah, all those things can happen. But when we choose not to react, we give ourselves time to calm down and approach the situation with a clear head. So once again, like I said, I always spell my name, my full name. People count to 10. Or people just do breathing exercise. Whatever works for you. Okay? Once again, my topic. Everything doesn't need a response. Everything doesn't need a response from you. Let people go ahead and just mouth off, do whatever they want to do. You can just stand there and say, and let them. They may get mad at you because you're not saying anything. I've had people say, "You're not saying anything." I said, "Don't need to say anything. Let you have your way. Let you get it out." I've done that with my children. Believe it or not, let them have their way and let them get it all out and just let them be them. And okay, Mama, you're not saying anything. No, I'm not gonna say anything. Not at that moment. Because if I did, they'd be on the floor. But that's me. But that has happened. And then the next day, the children, they apologize and say, okay. And then I put my mama hat back on and say, don't do that again. Okay. So you can do that. You can do that. So it will reduce your stress level when you just don't say anything, and it just promote an overall well-being of you. Okay. Now, how do we cultivate these skills of not responding? How do we do that? And my husband put this emoji on there. Yeah, boo, that did happen. Hey, Dolores. How do we cultivate the skills of not reacting? Like any skill, the ability to not react requires practice and patience. I see you, Dolores, said breathing works for you. Yeah, whatever works for you. I've done the breathing too, Dolores. Yeah, it works, but you really, you got to want it bad enough to where you don't need to go to a place that you don't need to go to. If that makes any sense. I don't want to go to a place of that kind of anger. I don't. I really don't. So yeah. So do, just like I mentioned, with any skill, it takes practice and patience and skills such as recognize your triggers. Biggie. Recognize your triggers. The first step in not recognizing and not reacting is to recognize what triggers your emotional response. Recognize your triggers. Everybody got them. Don't say because everybody got a trigger point. Like if you touch certain things and it makes you go off, yeah. So recognize your triggers. Is it a certain person? Is it a situation? Or is it a topic? Once you identify your triggers, you can prepare yourself to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Recognize your triggers. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that I would say a certain person. Yeah, everybody might have that certain person. You might not let them know, but when you see me, oh, yeah. Yeah, recognize situations. Don't put yourself in certain situations. Recognize a particular topic. If a certain topic come up before, okay, I'm out, because you don't want to discuss it. Because the topic makes you angry. Okay, so recognize your triggers. And this will show you how much you have matured. Okay? Also, another one, pause and breathe. Okay, Dolores and I, we talking about that. We just mentioned that. Pause and breathe. These are the things you can cultivate. You can really get yourself together when it comes to not responding. Pause and breathe. And when you feel yourself becoming emotional, take a moment to pause and breathe. This help you calm down and approach the situation with a clear head. And I mentioned about counting to 10. Take a few deep breaths. Or step away from this situation if necessary. I'm definitely one of those that if I feel like I need to step away from the situation, that's what I'm going to do. I just remove myself. I usually, like I mentioned, I usually spell my whole name. That works for me. But the key point that I mentioned about step away from situations if necessary, because sometimes it can be necessary, especially when it doesn't have anything to do with you and they're trying to pull you in. And they wonder why you're stepping away because it has something to do with me. I'm going. Bye. So pause and breathe. Pause and breathe. Okay. Another one is reframe your thoughts. Reframe your thoughts. I have a few more minutes. Reframe your thoughts. And when you react impulsively, we often have negative thoughts and assumptions about the situation or the people involved. We do. Don't automatically think the negative of what's happening. Like I mentioned earlier, the person may be venting and you just happen to be right there in their presence. So reframe your thoughts. By reframing your thoughts, we can approach the situation with a more positive and constructive mindset. Once again, it may not have anything to do with you. You just happen to be in the presence while they were talking about it. Okay, so we can approach it with a more positive and constructive mindset. For example, instead of thinking this person is trying to upset me, instead of thinking that, try thinking this person may be having a bad moment, and I can help by being understanding, listening. So change your thought process. Don't automatically think because they're lashing out that they're lashing out at you. Once again, it may not have anything to do with you. Okay? Another one is practice empathy. Practice empathy. And empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. We know that that's the definition of empathy. It's the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. So by practicing empathy, we can approach a situation with a more compassionate and understanding mindset. In other words, trying to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Yeah. And consider their perspective before you respond. So you don't have to respond negatively. Put yourself in what's going on, okay? And we've all been to the place where we listen to people and our heart just pulled at them, they were really hurting, very emotional. So we empathize with them. And some things that we've seen people go through, we've actually been in their shoes. Because it has happened to us. Okay? And don't we respond differently when the same thing has happened to us? Sure we do. Sure we do. And the last one I like to mention too, when you get to the point where you just all over the place and you respond to every single thing that comes your way and you don't know how to keep your mouth shut, seek support. Seek support. Seriously. Because that's a problem there. Don't be afraid to seek support when you need it. Talking to a friend, talking to family members or therapists can help you process your emotions and develop strategies for not reacting in the future. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, talk to somebody before it becomes a significant problem with you. Because once again, you don't have to respond to every single thing that comes your way. Okay, and the power of not reacting is a valuable skill that can be benefited in us for many areas of our lives. So yeah, you don't have to respond to everything. So by practicing emotional regulations techniques, we can approach situations with a clear head, make better decisions, improve our relationships, and reduce stress. I want to live a stress-free life. Will that always happen? No, but I will try my best. I will try my best. If I don't have to go to a stress level, I don't want to go there. Okay, so I will try my best. So the next time you find yourself in a challenging situation, remember the power of not reacting and take a moment to pause, to reflect, and to respond thoughtfully. I said all of that to say this. In a nutshell, guard your peace. Guard your peace. Everybody wants to be peaceful. Guard your peace. If you don't have to participate in anything that has something to do with you, don't. Guard your peace. Circumstances, situations, conversation has nothing to do with you. Move away. Guard your peace. Nobody asks your 2 cents worth to be put in. Don't add it. Or someone asks you your opinion, be cautious of how you respond. And it's okay to say, well, it's really none of my concern, but I'll pray about it with you and move on. But guard your peace. Once again, everything doesn't need a response. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys listening. And my husband, I like how you put this summary. Guard your peace. Yes. Yes. Bible study. Bible study this Thursday. 4 o'clock. Topic is standing strong in God. Please join us. Join my husband, Dr. Larry Black. He will be coming with Bible study moments at 4 o'clock on our Devoted to Him page. Please join us. I'm not saying because he's my husband, but he's an absolute wonderful biblical teacher. I tell you, I enjoy how he breaks the word down. So please join us. And for those of you who may not know, his birthday is Saturday. So we're going to say an early happy birthday to Dr. Larry Black. Birthday is Saturday, and he will be 70 years old. Looks good. He does. So pray much for him. Pray much for him. I'm grateful to God that he has will be allowed him to see. I know God will allow him to see his birthday on Saturday. So we thank God for that. Lori, thank you so much. You said you make so much sense. Well, yeah. I mean, it's got to make sense. It's got to make sense. Thank you, Cynthia, for wishing my husband a happy birthday. Guys, please, if you don't mind, please share this. Share this on your personal Facebook page, if you don't mind, for others to see. I will appreciate that. Follow us on Tuesday Talk with T on Facebook. Also, follow us on Devoted to Him, which you pick up the Bible study moments. Please share this so others can understand that everything doesn't need a response, and we're going to guard our peace. Guys, I love you guys so much, and we're going to end it. Can't wait to talk with you on next week, and can't wait to see what God is going to do and what He's going to bring to us for next week. But let's pray. Gracious Father, we thank you so much. We thank you for this time that you have honored us to talk and to dialogue. God, we thank you that you give us all things and you give it to us well, that we can talk and discuss it and help us grow in you. Now, God, we ask you to bless those who are listening, bless their homes, bless them individually. God, bless their families, bless all this entire world as a whole. We lift up every concern to you right now, God, and for those who may have individual concern, God, we ask you to touch every one of us where there's a need, God, because you would give us the desire of our heart. You tell us that in your word. God, we love you. We thank you so much for always being the center of our joy and the joy of our strength. Now, God, continue to be with us for the rest of this day. We're always careful to give your name the utmost honor, glory, and praise. It is in Jesus' name we do pray, and we do love you. Amen. Guys, love you so much. Have a blessed one in Jesus' name.